Okay, so we're starting to record. Let's go ahead. I think, yeah, let's go. So technical knowledge, I'm not going to say a lot on that. Pretty obvious if you're working in an IT help desk, you should know a bit about IT. I hope that's okay, right? So what do you have to know about IT? Software, configuration, and hardware and networking. So you should know those things if you're going to work in a service desk. Now the soft skills, you see here we got like 7 or 8 of them. There is, if you click on this, and I'm not going to go through it with you, but I do recommend you sort of click on this and follow through. There's a website there that actually goes through each of these soft skills and talks about them at some length. When I say at length, there's a couple of paragraphs on each. So it's not a huge amount, but there's some information there that will be useful to you, I think. Communication skills. This is all about communication skills, all right? Emotional intelligence, that's, being empathetic. And we talk a lot about empathy. Basically, it's we see other people around us and we can sort of know what they're thinking. It actually is a form of intelligence, and more intelligent people seem to do better at it. Having said that, there are certain type of people, autistic people, who actually score very low on this, but they can be very intelligent in other ways. But yeah, to work in a service desk, you have to be able to sort of be aware of people around you. That's what that's all about. Problem solving skills, I hope that's obvious. Relentless follow-up, actually that website, click on that and go through there. That talks about the relentless follow-up pretty nicely. Basically just going back to the customer and making sure that everything has been done that you said was going to be done. And there's a couple of videos that are actually represented here. You'll see some links that you can follow that are some very good things on customer service that go along with this, the relentless follow-up. How the old way of working with customer service was, if the customer complained, we give them some money or we give them something free. And what you'll find, if we use these ideas, if we're showing empathy, if we feel bad for them, if we tell them that, if we follow up, we can actually do that. It's not, the customer doesn't always want something free or want some money. What they just want is to be understood. And hopefully we sort of get that. And we do talk about that a bit in this course. Anyway, so here's those 10 top skills in a graphical form. Do have a look at that. And as I said, follow that link in the previous slide to take you to a website, which will follow through that quite quickly. I'm going through this a little fast because I guess we don't have much time. There's 10 people here now. Okay. I remind me at the end of this, those people that are here, don't leave, because I need to mark you present. So please remind me at the end so we can so I can mark you present. We have a whole class on stress and time management. So I won't say too much about that now. But just yeah, let's just leave it at that. This prioritizing tasks and multitasking, the idea there, again, is about organizing yourself. Okay, so let's look at this exercise just briefly. Now, the problem here is the IT person, they're in this desk, they got an appointment with their customer in 10 minutes time. They made that appointment last week, so the customer's gonna expect them. Then something happens, a walk-in, somebody walks into their office and they have a problem, they want that addressed. Then you get an email from the finance team, and the finance team wants you to do a report, and then you get something from the secretary of the CEO of the company, and they want something. So what are you going to do as the IT service desk person? What would you do? Now, I wish we had a lot more time to go through this. Anybody got something off the top of their head that they'd like to sort of suggest for this? The issue is you're this customer service rep and you got all of these competing things. What would you do? Or how would you?
Give the priority, because whatever would impact the whole organization, if it's actually the CEO. So basically the CEO for sure would like to make decisions. So any delay on him is going to impact the whole company. So if there is something on hand and we need to inform actually the person who had an issue before, I would tell him, listen, I would call him back, listen, I had a problem with the CEO's office. If you don't mind, we need to fix it because it's important to all of us for our job and I'll get back to you when it's done. So basically, first you have to give the priorities on what will impact the organization. Then you need to update whatever was in your hand.
Okay, I like that answer. And the thing that I like about it is that you communicated to everybody what was happening and you told them what the priority was, rather than just sort of go and sort of say, okay, well, forget everybody else. I'm just going to go to the president. Um, by communicating and telling the other people what's happening, I'm sure that you could sort of solve this issue. So very good. The thing is the principles, right? It wasn't that, oh, which one should I do? It's what are the principles that I should follow? And the principles that I should follow were that communicate with everybody, show um, show empathy, do your problem solving, and yeah. So good work. I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. I think that was a great answer. Um, business skills. The idea here is suppose you work at the College of the North Atlantic and you work in the IT service desk. You need to know a little bit about IT. We talked about that. You have to have some soft skills. We talked about that. But it should be that you also know a little bit about the College of the North Atlantic. All right. So, whatever company it is that you're working in, or business, or government department, or whatever, you should know a little bit about the business. You should be able to talk to the people who you're providing a service to about what concerns them. So here at the college, if you're working in the service desk, you should know a little bit about what the teachers are doing, know a little bit about what the students are doing. You should understand what a GPA is and how a GPA is calculated and how the computer systems work towards it. You get the idea. All right. So you should know about your business that you're working in. Now, these things here, can-do attitudes, solving problems, genuinely want to help people, be able to work in a team because you are in a team. You're in the customer service, the IT service desk. That is a team. Let's just go through these a little bit. Can-do attitude means that we're positive, not negative. We don't talk about what we can't do. We talk about what we can do. So somebody comes in and they have a situation, they want you to do something. It isn't what you can do, but you tell them, well, this is what I can do for you. Okay, that's the idea, is to just sort of focus on the positive. Obviously, if you enjoy helping other people, it's going to be easier for you to sort of work in a service desk, problem solving, etc. Now, this link here, I'm not going to follow it, but I'm going to recommend it to you. If you go to this link, you will find all of these things that we've got in these slides are in a video sort of training course, which is an online video training course on LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn account, this is kind of free for us here at the college. You can follow this training course and you get a certificate. Now I'm thinking about what I can do with those certificates. I'm thinking maybe for students who actually go and do this little training course, takes about an hour. And produce a certificate for me. I think I'm going to give some bonus marks for that. So take that as a sort of a, and some students may need that at the end of the semester where they need to, get their marks up a bit. And what I will then say to them is, well, go and follow that link and prove to me that you learned all that stuff, which you'll do because it has a little test at the end of it. And then you get a certificate. And so, yeah, you might like to do that now. And as I said, you can present that certificate to me at the end of the course, and there will be bonus points applied to you for any student that does that. So have a look at that. I think that might be helpful to you. So the next slide here is about you maybe want to become a service desk person, working in a service desk or a help desk, and you go for a job interview and they ask you questions which really relate to experience. Are you experienced this? Are you experienced that? Do you have any experience? Well, actually, yeah, you have some experience of your time here in the college, and that's what that is about. You had to work with people, you had to learn to get along, you had to be in a team, you had to solve problems, and so you should apply those things to any questions that you have about that. So here's a little, I guess I'll open a D2L Dropbox for this. I haven't done yet. As soon as we get off this class, I'll open a Dropbox, and you can, what you should do is you should create a Word document, And in that Word document, answer this, find 3 positions in a help desk. And I'd like you to focus on an IT help desk and then discuss what requirements they would be if you wanted to apply for one of those positions in the service desk. How are we going, students? I hope this is okay. I see I've got 11 students here. Let me just
Mr. When is the deadline for this assignment or for this lab? It's a lab or homework or what?
this is a homework. Yeah, I'll make the deadline this week.
Yeah,
is
I
that
mean,
okay?
but it's considered as a lab.
Yeah. No, it's just a homework. It's just a homework.
Okay.
The labs are separate.
It's an
Hold on.
assignment, yeah.
Can I know how much it's worth? Like how much percent?
It'll be a
No,
couple of percent. All right. I haven't decided yet. I'm sorry. Do you want me to
Okay.
make it worth a lot? I could, I suppose. Yeah, we could call it a lab and make it worth 3 or 4%.
Okay, nice one.
All right. So let's talk about a successful help desk. Now, here we talk about the components. We say that a help desk is made up of people, processes, and technology. So the technology, one of the things in the technology is included is your, we call it here an ITSM system or a service management system. That's what ITSM stands for, Information Technology Service Management System, or we could call it incident management system. But basically, it's a system where you create tickets and you manage those tickets and make sure that all incidents are managed. But that's a part of it. But also where you manage all of your solutions to that. You have some kind of configuration management, some problem management. That's all part of ITSM. The people, I hope that's obvious that service is going to have people in it. The process means that the way that you do things is not random. You have a plan in the way that you do things. You have a standards, I guess you could say, or as it says here, we have a process. So we have set out processes and standards that are applied and procedures that are applied. The way that you do things is done in a certain way. So that's going to be part of it. So there's the people in their service desk. The frontline service providers, we call those our level 1. And then the level 1 is supported by others. So the processes, as it refers to there, we have request management, problem management, and service level agreement management. Request management, that would be where people want something installed, some new a new software, new hardware installed a system. That's what we mean by a request management. Problem management or incident management is because they have some kind of an outage. Something is broken or something is not working the way that want it to, and so that has to be addressed. Service level agreement management, that's where certain standards are set for the way that the IT is provided. And then we're doing planning, and we're also doing these other things to make sure that that is achieved. And so there's processes involved in all of that. Some of the technology components, the IT service management system. We're going to give you an example. Will you see in the next slide, we've got some examples that are cloud service examples, but we've got an example, which is an old one, which is called OTRS, and I'll be giving you accounts on those. Your center, your phone answering service or automated call center. So people will ring the same number, and then what typically happens is they have a menu which they can choose, choose this for that, this for that, this for that, and they get routed to the right person to answer their service. So that's going to be a component. That's actually a fairly well-developed technology, automatic call centers. So that's well, what else to say about that's going to be there. You're going to be recording things in a database, so you're going to have a database there. And there's the emerging technologies. A lot of that has to do with stuff that's happening on the cloud. And so speaking of the cloud, we have these service providers like Freshservice, Freshdesk. HP has a service called the Manage Engine by HP. Now, what these do is they provide us with that information technology service management system, which has tickets
and the tickets then work with the service desk works with the tickets to make sure that nobody's incident gets lost, and so every incident gets handled and solved. And so that's part of what we call an IT service management system. These are examples of it. There's lots more examples of it. The example that we're going to use in this course is called OTRS, and you'll see that a bit later. So we have these special terms. IT service management, there's lots of ways of doing IT service management, and we can how you say, we can use different frameworks, we can use different uh, different standards, etc. One of the frameworks that works with IT service management is called ITIL. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but ITIL has special terms that it uses, and so some of these terms relate to ITIL. Actually, all of these are ITIL terms. So an incident, that is when a service is interrupted. So it could be that something's broken, or it could be that the internet is down, or it could be that you can't access a database. That's an incident. And then a request is something different. A request is somebody wants something new that they haven't had before, or something installed or configured. A problem is related to an incident. A problem is going to be where an incident keeps repeating, and then there's some root cause of that incident repeating, and so that needs to be yes, Mohammed, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. So, what is the ITIL again? Because you said it even before, I mean, yesterday. So, what is the ITIL?
ITIL is it's a framework of processes. There's 26 processes is an ITIL, and the processes are things like incident management, problem management, configuration management, but it's a kind of like a handbook, I guess you could say, which is, this is how we do a service desk. ITIL is a framework to say, this is how we do a service desk. Now, there's 26 processes in ITIL. Most service desks don't implement all 26 processes. So it's sort of like, it's not a standard, you don't have to do it, but it's a way of saying, if we wanted to have the best help desk or service desk that we could ever have, how could we do that? Well, these people put together this and called it ITIL, and have published it and said, this is the best way of doing a service desk. So ITIL was actually sponsored by the British government. You could, if you're interested in working in a service desk, you could go and get training and become ITIL certified, which would mean if you had a piece of paper that said you are ITIL certified, that would be like saying, I know how to run a service desk so that it does things in the ITIL way. And a lot of organizations will try and implement ITIL, or at least parts of ITIL. I hope I've explained that. There's a lot.
You did actually. Yeah,
Sorry?
you did actually you did actually in a very perfect way. So the ITIL stands for what? Is it like IT? Then there are other two words which is referring to I and L.
So the L stands for library. So information technology, I'm not sure what the other I is, but the last one is, it's a library. So it's a library of processes that are used in a service desk. Yeah, I can't remember the last L, but
Yeah, no,
if you Google it, you'll find it. Yeah.
Thanks.
So change management, asset management, not so much, but change management definitely is part of ITIL. And so is problems. Now, I mention ITIL because ITIL is put up as like the excellent way of doing service management in a help desk. It's not the only one, though, because I'm sure you've heard of ISO, the International Standards Organization, ISO. They have quality management, which they put numbers with. They have these standards, and the standard is you have to do a bunch of things, and if you do that things, you can be certified at your organization as meeting that standard. Well, they have a couple of standards. One is called ISO 20000, and another one is called ISO 27000. And ISO 20000 means that you're meeting the standards for a service desk. So, I mean, you could do ISO 20000 and ITIL, or you could do ITIL and not ISO, or you could do ISO and not ITIL. Does it make sense? I mean, it's kind of like things you can choose, but the idea being, what's the best way of doing a service desk? Now, knowledge base is a concept that goes along with ITIL, and almost all service desks have a knowledge base. The idea of a knowledge base is when we solve a problem, we don't throw away that knowledge. Every time we have a problem, we learn something about, or every time we solve a problem that we haven't seen before, we learn something about our system, and we record that, and that goes into a database, and so that when the same problem occurs again, somebody else is able to look at the knowledge base and see how it was solved. Now, in OTRS, when you close a ticket, what you do then is that you record the solution that you applied to close that incident, and then that can be recorded in the knowledge base. Self-service portal. Really good example of that is what the Qatar government does with Matrash 2. I would say that's a really good example of a service portal, but you could have these in any organization, I think. So I'm sure that some of you have used Matrash 2, but so for example, you can pay your traffic tickets, you can update your visas, or visas of people that are dependent on you. You can see what is the status of those things. There's many different options there. Hukumi also. So that's what we mean by a self-service portal, where the person can go to that. It's 24/7 service. The person can go to that, and there's lots of things that they could do that otherwise they might have had to go to a person and get their support. So if you've ever used Matrash 2, can you imagine a system like that that would be used for providing an IT service? And yeah, I'm sure there is. Not sure if Arito has anything similar. Probably it does.
Has it?
And insurance companies do. Like I've renewed my insurance without talking to anybody. So just going to the QIC site, and by putting in my my QID, I was able to pull up what are my my insurance that I have, and then I was able to renew it without talking to anybody. So that's what we mean by a self-service. And so insurance companies have it. Matrash has it. Rito has it. Probably Qatar Airlines has it. I think you could call their thing something like that.
Banks, the ATM itself is actually some.
Yeah, I guess. So the call center, the phone service is automated. What that means, what that means is when the phone, it rings, the first answer is often not a person. It's this, you got, it's kind of like a robot talking to you. It's not really a robot, but it's automated voice. And then you press a number, and then eventually you may get through to somebody. But it could be that you're actually able to do a lot of things without actually talking to anybody also. So we'll talk a little bit about that maybe later. I don't know if you're familiar with these terms, the actual definitions of these words like data and information. Data is kind of raw. And yeah, so there's lots of data that we collect, and then we process that data into something a little bit more meaningful, and then we can call that information, and we store that in different sites. Yeah, okay, so artificial intelligence, does that apply to this? Yeah, absolutely. It applies to so many forms of business. So with artificial intelligence, the idea there is that patterns are discovered that wouldn't be obvious otherwise. And so patterns to do with our customers, and patterns to do with our systems, patterns to do with our computers, what's going on. So artificial intelligence will alert us to patterns that are occurring so that we can improve our services, improve our interactions with our customers. Process automation, yeah, just things happening more automatically. Now I'm just looking at this. By this, I think we got like about maybe 10, 15 minutes left. So let's keep on going. I hope that's okay with you guys. So this diagram here, I hope this makes sense to you. If you can imagine these people are sitting around in a service desk, they might be sitting in this order, but the idea is that each of these is a different group of people. We've got a desktop team, an AV team, and help desk are reporting to a service manager, a support manager, infrastructure manager. They're building our networks, right? So we have a system admin team, network team, database team, building our systems. Application managers, they're developing the software. So you got a web team, an application team, security team. Well, they're a little bit separate. They're doing their own thing because they're just making sure that everything is secure, not being hacked, and not data not exfiltrating out. People's personal details are safe. The computer systems are not being broken by outside interference, or from people inside taking stuff out. Then outside of the computer system itself, we have people that are important to us, but outside, and those are our vendors. And I hope that IT. So we say this is the IT support model. All of these people may be called upon by the help desk at some time to help solve an incident or a request from a customer. So if a customer has an issue that comes to the service desk, we'll start working within the service desk itself to try and solve that problem. But it is possible that we might have to deal with these other parts of the organization, the security team, the application managers, whatever. We may even have to deal with vendors to meet a resolution to that person's problem. So yeah. And the idea in this diagram, I hope you get this idea. Can you see that we have 3 different levels here, which actually sort of refer back to that diagram we just looked at. So level 1 is this level here with the blue. Level 2 would be these other, these 3 here. Everything inside the service desk, everything inside the IT department that's not part of the service desk. That's our level 2, and then outside is our level 3. So there's our supports: level 1 support, level 2 support in the same building, but these aren't people that are usually talking to customers all the time. Level 3 support, we may have to go and talk to our vendors to get some help. Now, what happens is we try and solve everything at the service desk at level 1 support, of course, but we recognize that there are some issues that we actually going to need some help from our engineers, level 2. And there may be some issues where we actually have to go and get outside help from our vendors. Okay, so that's referred to in this slide here, the subject matter expert. We could say that's our level 2 person. It's possible that those person might show up from time to time in the help desk, but normally that's our level 2 support. We go to them if we have an issue which requires their specific knowledge. The multi-level support model, the idea is, as I explained in the previous slide, the support center actually represents it in that previous slide as well. And that again, so we got like 3 or 4 different ways of representing the same information here. Got the support desk in the middle. We may have to at times refer to other people. Our level 2 support would be these people here, our subject matter experts. And yeah, whatever. Our application administration, they're actually working with the service desk as well. The diagram here is just representing, well, at the bottom, let's see, our more mundane tasks. Working in the service desk, not everything is coming to us as an incident or a problem. Sometimes we just need to change somebody's password, bring in a new user, or close the account of an old user, those type of things. So that's going to be our administration tasks, and they're going to be sort of very mundane and sort of following a checklist almost. Now that's one side of the thing. That's not really an incident. Another thing that we have that might help us is you can put software onto your servers and your switches, etc., which can monitor what's happening on them, monitor the traffic, and monitor any incidents that occur on those, and get reports from them. So that's what that diagram there is. That's showing a software which is able to give alerts to any things that might be happening on your computer network at any time. And so that's what we call network monitoring. So automated, without a person being involved. What happens is the people in the IT support are just receiving a report from that system. Now we get to ITIL. You asked about ITIL. ITIL is a framework. ITIL was developed in the UK. ITIL is used around the world. You can become an ITIL certified IT. ITIL works specifically with service management, with the service desk. That's what it's for. So the whole idea of ITIL is to say, if you do these things, then you should have an excellent service desk. That's the idea. And so, yeah, we hope that that's what it's going to be. Yeah. So can you see that? I'm just having a look to see because I got so many people here now. That's great. 14. I think that's like everybody's here. Wow. I can mark everybody present. That makes it easier for me. I appreciate that. So here's an example of ITIL. If the customer doesn't answer back, you're going to have a process, right? So what should we do? How long do we keep them? We would have some kind of process that we would record how we're going to do that. If we're going to update a service, we would have some kind of process on how we would do that. Who would do it? When would it be done? Who should approve it? All of those procedures would be recorded somewhere in our system. That's what we mean by ITIL. All of that are the procedures that go with it. All right. Okay, so I'm sorry, that's not really much to say there about that. That's just sort of blah. This is important here. These things, these words mean specific things in ITIL. Okay, so we have these words and they mean something. I've sort of referred to them, but I'm just going to make sure that we've got them here. Incident means that a service has been interrupted or there's been a outage. We use the word outage. So it could be that the system is down. It could be that something's broken, or as it says, you got an error message. Something happened that we don't have the service that we normally have and expect. That's an outage. That's an incident. That's going to show up. We open a ticket when there's an incident. And then when the incident is resolved, we close that ticket. A problem sounds like an incident, but it's actually a little bit more to it than an incident. So this is an ITIL definition. So a problem is actually when you have an incident that is repeated, and if there's something causing that, and then we register that as a problem, and we do something to diagnose what is causing that, and then to make the solution at that way. So a problem is going to be something that's repeated. Now, service request, that's going to be the more simple thing. Can you please add this new user? Can you please install this new computer? Can you please connect me to the printer? These are a service request. It's not an outage. It's not a problem. It's just that we have something that we need doing. So the knowledge management system, I've already spoken to you a little bit about that. The idea of the knowledge management system is we're not losing that knowledge. The word is knowledge. We're not using that knowledge of how we solve these or resolve these issues. We're recording that so that we can use it again if the issue ever comes up again. So that's why we talk about incident resolutions, known errors, procedures. How do we follow those? So that's going to be recorded in a knowledge base. And so the service desk person, agent can search that knowledge base when they have a problem. So I'm going to have, an incident. So when they have the certain incident, they can check in the knowledge base to see if that incident's ever happened before and how it was solved previously. That's going to be in a database. Now, configuration management systems. This is all part of ITIL. The idea being is that we keep a record of everything we're doing in our system. So we have recorded map of our system. You know, what are all the IP addresses? Where are those equipment? How are they configured? All of that is recorded in a configuration database. Every time changes are made, then it's updated. And so the idea is the configuration management system is keeping if you like, sort of a picture of what our system is, where everything is. Yeah, think of it as like maps, lots of maps. So maps of what software is available where, maps of all the IP addresses of the equipment, maps of all the Wi-Fi the Wi-Fi routers, etc. All of those things are recorded so that we know what any changes are made are updated in that system. Network monitoring system we already talked about. Remote control and diagnostic systems. If you're working in a service desk, these could be very, very useful to you. So what we mean by that is that you could, without leaving your desk in the service desk, you could reach through the network, if you like, with this tool and take control of the other person's computer. So to install software, etc. That's the way that they do it here. I had some software installed on my computer like 2 weeks ago, and what happens is a window pops up on my screen. And the guy says, "Can I take control of your desktop?" And so that's nice, right? I don't have administrator rights, but he still has to ask me, and I click yes, and then all of a sudden I see all this stuff happening, right? And then he's installing software and configuring it, etc. So that's what we mean by a remote control system. Diagnostic system would work with that. We're getting along quite well today. I'm happy about
Wait,
that.
I have a question.
Yeah, okay, because I think we're going to finish now. So your question will be last one because we've got like 1 minute before this finishes. So 1 minute, go for it.
Okay, just for the passwords, also part of the CMS, do you save the global password of the whole organization network, or actually the whole critical system password in it?
Not sure if I understood your question, but each user is going to have their own unique password. And
No, I'm talking about the whole organization system. Let's say, for example, you're in a hospital and they have their hospital system. That's actually not for the user, but a system for the hospital itself. So
yeah, okay. But that system is still going to have some users. It's going to be limited users, and they're going to be in the IT department. So it's up to them how they configure it. I suppose they could configure it with one password, but I think that you would likely configure each person to have their own.
But you keep it in the CMS in case that person is not there.
Yes, I
as a
understand.
recovery, to keep the data in the CMS.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.